Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, I'm going to do a bit of a fun one today. I actually bumped into some of the Raid guys when I was out in Gamescom, and they said that they're working on future IP collaborations. It's like one of the things they really want to get right in Raid. And in fact, some of the IP collaborations they've done in the past have been like some of the most successful things they've done in the game to breed like new life, get more players in. Things like the Monster Hunter collaboration, some of us didn't like it, but actually for the health of the game, it really, really worked. We're obviously going through right now this whole, I guess even like beefed up version of form of collaboration. I guess it's not really a collaboration because they haven't gone for like a specific IP, but certainly bringing in a group of new champs that are kind of all based around this Asgardian theme. And there's been some other stuff that they've done in the past where I guess champs that have come in have followed themes of like Disney or, if you think about the sort of Beauty and the Beast type of vibe you've got going on with Coronar and what's her name? Somehow I don't have either of these. And Minaya. So you've got that kind of like Beauty and the Beast. Those type of things have kind of gone through Raid over the years, but unofficially. So I think they're looking for more official things to do. What we're going to do is a bit of a tier list of the ones that I think are going to be or could be cool. And then I'd love for you to sort of come up with anything else that you think would be cool as well. I did write down a couple of things. Like, obviously, we've had Xena added to the game. So Xena was a kind of like a one-off purchase. Like, it was a straight purchase. What faction was she in? Barbarians? She was like a one-off purchase. But she came in completely solo without any other kind of like heroes or champs from that IP. And then we've had other stuff where it's kind of like, we're just going to straight up use a character from an IP, but we're not going to officially call it the character. Like Game of Thrones has come through a few times in a fair few of the characters that have come in, but more like a kind of like nod to Game of Thrones rather than officially calling it out as Game of Thrones, right? So there's some stuff that's already in the game along those lines. But what I've done is I've just pulled together some of my, I guess, top picks and how I would rate them. We're going to go through and rate them one by one. And then, yeah, as I say, I'd love to know any others that you think might work. So first one we've got on the list here is Avengers. Now, obviously, we've just seen Thor and stuff added to the game, but it was Raid's own version of Thor, so it's not quite the same as a proper collaboration. But I've got to say, like, Marvel, Avengers, stuff like that is definitely something I can get behind. You know, if we had I don't know, like, does a Hulk push it too far? It would be so fun to see a Hulk come in and animate, but I definitely think this could be a decent collaboration. I think, if we was up against a Thanos as the boss, and then we were bringing in a few of the different Avengers, or, Scarlet Witch could fit really well. Doctor Strange could fit really well. So I think there's some of the characters from this series which could be really cool. Conan, for me, is a straight perfect fit. It's an old style, nostalgic IP. It's probably quite cheap to get, very similar to the Xena type of profile. Conan obviously fits exactly into the Barbarian faction, but it does seem like, in terms of like IP fitting or potential champs that we get in these games, so many seem to be just pumped into the Barbs. You got Xena went straight here. You've got all of the new Asgardians have gone straight into the Barbs. Some of the Monster Hunters went into the Barbs. So, and then you get like some of the free champions of Barbs as well. So you kind of get an overflowing Barbarian faction quite quick. So, but still, I think as an IP, Conan the Barbarian, certainly Conan himself would just be like a perfect fit. I've got D&D here. D&D, I think, would be a pretty solid fit. I picked the old cartoon because that's what I think of D&D when it's in my head. There's obviously Dragonair that's already done like official collabs with D&D, so it would be quite a hard one to grab. But I do think it would fit really well with Raid. The whole style, the aesthetic, the fact that you've got different types of classes that just fit already in with the Raid style in terms of tank, in terms of archers, in terms of mages, and you definitely could come out with some really fun bosses. I think the more recent D&D film wouldn't have done it any harm as well in terms of being a good IP to collaborate with. So I'm afraid I went into A tier. This one's a bit of a curveball, and it's a bit of a guilty pleasure for me. So I'm a massive fan of David Gemmell and all of his books. And I literally would say, I think I've read every single book he's ever written. He's unfortunately passed away now, but his fantasy writing is, for me, the best that exists. And you've got Druss the Legend, who would be absolutely perfect. You've got Steel Ganon would be perfect. You could go into for those who have kind of... most of you probably haven't read it in the books, right? But he goes into some of the kind of like Troy type, I guess, history, and has got his own take on Priam and Achilles and Hector and that type of stuff. So that could be a fun angle. Within a lot of the books, he has these things called joinings, which are basically men crossed with different animals, which would fit into skinwalkers really well. Man, I just feel like, for me, I feel like this would be an absolutely perfect fit. Probably quite cheap as well. But does it carry the same recognition as some of the other ones we're going to talk about? I guess maybe it doesn't. But I would love this to be the one. I just feel like there's so many cool options. You've got all the kind of like Celtic gods and stuff. You've got the Atlanteans. There's so many different areas that David Gemmell touches on, but in his own way, with his own IP of it. So this, for me, would be really cool. Game of Thrones, I've spoken about it already. I think it would have to come all the way down to B-Fit now. So a few reasons. Firstly, they've already introduced a bunch of the characters in their own style. So a bunch of them are already off the table. And it's very humanoid focused, which is a weird thing to say, but it's hard to get that kind of like real variety of heroes coming through. I guess there would be some cool animations and stuff like that if you actually brought in the Night King. But as I said earlier, he does kind of look a lot like, you know, some of the heroes we've already got, the champs we've already got. So for me, it's going to sit down in a B. Now, for Fateless, we actually looked into a bunch of IPs, by the way, and we were well along our way with some of them. This image has not come out that well, but Magic the Gathering is an interesting IP. Basically, the Planeswalkers could be a really cool kind of collaboration. It's a little bit more of an odd one because collaborated with another game, albeit fundamentally it's a card game, but they do have, you know, actual games out as well. So might be a harder sell, I guess, to get the collaboration to work. But I think Magic the Gathering could be awesome, actually, in terms of, you know, some of the different Planeswalkers you could bring in. They would fit really well in the Raid faction. So I think could be a good one. He-Man. I think He-Man and the Masters of the Universe goes into perfect fit territory here. So He-Man, Skeletor, She-Ra, the list goes on. And again, we'd end up with a bunch of Barbarians, I think, or some Barbarians, which is not necessarily the best. But I think that nostalgic callback, a bit like Xena, and a lot of us that play Raid are older. So I think He-Man could end up being really, really fun. I pulled out The Last Airbender here. Now, I was just kind of thinking, like, you know, IPs or kind of like brands that are having a bit of a resurgence. And the latest Last Airbender series is actually pretty good. I don't know if you watched it, if you liked it. But then again, I was like, is there really anything other than humanoids that you'd be able to bring into Raid? I think it probably sits down in a C. So it would be certainly interesting. There'd be some quite cool animations you could do with the different heroes. Would I be out desperately trying to pick some of those champs up? Not sure, honestly. So I think it comes down as a C tier for me. Okay, Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, I think, flies right up there, right? So, you know, your Balrogs for the boss, your Gandalf. You've got Schmiedel or Gollum would be very cool. You know, you've got dwarfs in there, which would come in very well. Elves, obviously. So I think the whole IP would just fit absolutely perfectly. There is a Lord of the Rings game in this genre, which means that that makes it more difficult to try and collaborate with someone like this. Unfortunately, the Lord of the Rings game was absolutely trash. I think it was EA that launched it, and it was terrible. So really poor showing from them. And unfortunately, that probably means that, you know, some of these cool collabs are off the table because of that type of collaboration, which was poorly executed. So that's a shame. But I do think Lord of the Rings would be top tier for this game. Another curveball here. So the Never-Ending Story, just a throwback for anyone who has watched it. I was trying to think of some cool ones as well from the past. It probably comes in as maybe like a B tier, or maybe it's even a C. I'd say Never End the Story was probably one of the first times any of us was like properly sad at a film, right? When the horse is drowning, it's terrible. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the characters within that film, there's definitely some cool moments, but I don't know if there would really be like iconic characters coming through for a game like Raid. Wheel of Time is an interesting one. I think Wheel of Time is a bit more current because of the series at Prime right now, and I think they've got another new series or season coming out real soon. Again, though, lots of humanoids, so you do have kind of like different styles. I think, again, you can get some cool animations going with, you know, dudes controlling wolves and different powers and stuff like that. But ultimately, it's a bunch of humanoid characters, so you wouldn't really get that diversity, but quite a cool one. Let me know what you think of Wheel of Time. How about this one? Thundercats. Is Thundercats just a UK thing? I don't know. But if it is, you should just go and check it out. Thundercats was super sweet, actually. Now, it would probably mean a whole bunch of new skinwalkers, which is never a bad thing. But not necessarily. Some of them would fit into different factions. I actually think Thundercats could be like A tier. I think it could be very fun. Not quite the level of He-Man for nostalgia, but close. And yeah, some really cool characters from Thundercats. Especially even some of the... I'm trying to remember what they're called, actually. Who was the Thundercat villain? It was like a mummy dude. Yeah. Mumra, that's it. Mumra. Quite creepy vibes. Could be a mythical because he used to change as well. Could definitely be the mythical coming in. Damn. More I think about it, the more I think this is a good one. So, yeah, Thundercats in the mix. Again, we've got another one here. So, The Witcher would be one of my kind of like faves personally. I really love The Witcher series. But again, it was originally a game turned into TV. So, for the game to release their IP to another game is probably quite unlikely. Unless, depends if they... And maybe did I see they've released a game in this genre anyway? I'm not sure, but you know, I think some cool characters again, very humanoid based. But then I think the differences between them are pretty cool. You've also got some of the kind of like more witches and that type of stuff, which is cool as well. Yeah, I think The Witcher would be very sweet, and I think it would really suit Raid. But I don't know if that would even be on the cards. So the last one for me then is X-Men. So I already called out like Marvel, Avengers, but I actually think X-Men would be way stronger than Avengers. It might just be because I love X-Men so much and I grew up watching the cartoons and that type of stuff, but oh man, I just feel like, you know, playing as a Wolverine or Mystique, you know, the ability to change into one of the enemy characters or something like that would be so fun. You've got Storm, be able to fly up, you know, we've got the animations already in the game, so that works. Magneto, would Magneto work? Maybe not so well. There's just so many cool characters in the X-Men. I just feel like it's a no-brainer S-tier IP. I think it would be one of the faves. So I don't know. Let me know. Any of these, would you like any of them to come into the game? Do you like IP collaborations happening anyway? And if you had to choose like your top 2 or 3, let me know down below. Anyway, have yourself a good weekend, and I will see you soon.